So recently in my wargaming, I've been trying to get away from using products that are purely from Games Workshop. That's not like an anti-GW statement. It's nothing against the company itself. There's just so many cool products out there that you miss out on if you don't kind of branch out. So one of the biggest content creators in the 40k space is Majorkill. He does these kind of like comedy lore videos, and as far as I can tell, he really divides the community. I guess he does what a lot of people would call kind of vulgar humor in his videos. So some people absolutely love it, some people absolutely hate it. It just kind of depends on your sense of humor. Think of his stuff kind of as a comedy sketch that covers 40k history. So I spent over 5 years in the Army, so that kind of comedy doesn't bother me at all. I think it's really funny personally. I really like his channel, but a lot of people don't. So one thing Majorkill did here a while back that I thought was really interesting is he started his own line of miniatures called Major Minis. So I thought from a business perspective, that made a lot of sense because he not only has the marketing to actually sell the product, but also attract the talent that would actually make the product. So these miniatures fall into one of two categories, basically. One is miniatures we all really want in 40k, but Games Workshop has just never actually made them. Like, the ones I bought were the Orc Demon Killers, which is basically Tuska from the lore. So think like a warp orc, basically. So he still looks like an orc, he still fits into an orc list, but you can tell he has that warp influence. And then I haven't actually got this one yet, but I also ordered a King Orc, which is basically a Cork from lore. So it's what the orcs would look like from the War in Heaven. These are normally pretty on the nose as far as what they should be in 40k. Like, they don't have the actual copyrighted name, but you can definitely tell what they are. Which, I've seen people not like that, but to me that's the actual reason you're buying them. You're buying them for an obvious prophecy. It's not like you're buying it and just, it's kind of a stretch. Like, you know what it's going to be. So I don't personally see that as a negative. That's literally the reason I bought it. So the other category are sculpts that are just proxies for something we already have in 40k. Like, I'm a huge fan of Ridley Scott's Alien, absolutely love that franchise, and there's a whole line of Xenonids, which are basically Xenomorph Tyranids, and like, the base sizes line up, you can definitely one-for-one use them. That's just obviously what they're meant to be. I feel like at this point I need to make a statement too. Every time I do a video like this, whether it's like this or Wahapedia, or something that's kind of skirting around the rules of Games Workshop, I get people telling me that I shouldn't talk about it because Games Workshop is going to find out about it. Like, Majorkill publicly announces these on his channel all the time. And he has individual videos that are bigger than every video on my channel put together. So I don't think a GW lawyer is going to be watching me and not know who Majorkill is. I just don't think that's possible. Same with something like Wahapedia. Like, if this channel is where they learn about Majorkill or Wahapedia or something, that would absolutely blow my mind. I don't think there's any risk of that happening. I'm not, like, blowing the lid off of Majorkill's thing here. I know for 99% people, not relevant, but I always did those comments. So now that we've talked about what Major Minis actually makes, let's talk about kind of quality and price. Like, are they worth getting? So for quality, I didn't notice a huge difference between them and GW's actual products. Which, I mean that in a good way. So I'm fully aware Games Workshop has a huge quality range because they have the really, really outdated, old-looking models, and then their new stuff looks awesome. So I'd say the Major Minis are somewhere in the middle of that, leaning maybe a little more towards the newer ones. So a major difference is they don't come on a sprue, they're 3D printed, so they look like this when you get them. So it is a different building experience, but once you actually get everything assembled and actually start painting it, you won't really notice a difference. So just to make sure it wasn't only my opinion, I did read through a bunch of forum posts, and from what I saw, most people agree that these are basically in line with GW as far as quality. And another thing is basically all of these miniatures have multiple pictures online of where people have actually painted them up, so you can pretty much know exactly what you're getting. Sometimes when you order stuff off Etsy, you just see kind of like the gray sculpt, and it's hard to actually see what the details look like, but that's not the case here. So for pricing, if you're buying individual characters, Major Minis is definitely cheaper. One example is the Xenonid winged parasite, which is definitely the Parasite Immortes. The major mini one is $24 and GW is $40. Even if you buy it at a local game store, you probably won't find it much cheaper than like $35. And for a Chaos Lord, they're a little above $33 and the major mini version is $27. So you're getting somewhere between a 15 to 40% discount. So if you're looking at a group of model, like let's say the Xenonids, which are basically Termagants, then it's kind of all over the board. Some of them are cheaper, some of them are more expensive, but they're normally in the ballpark, so you're not really saving or losing money there. So the only negative experience I've had with major minis is we did a pre-order, like my brother-in-law did, of the Big E, which is the Emperor model. And like I said, it was a pre-order. I don't know if there was actually like an estimated shipping date when he ordered it. And I ordered the King Orc at the same time. And I want to say that was like 5 months ago or so. And it hasn't shipped out yet. So just because I did it with a pre-order, I still haven't got my model yet either. And then my brother-in-law still hasn't actually got his Big E yet that he's paid for. But that was a pre-order, so I kind of did it, but it also seems pretty long to wait for an actual, like, just miniature. So should you actually order from major minis? Well, if you're playing somewhere that's really hardcore, like a GW shop where you have to use GW miniatures, these obviously aren't from GW, you wouldn't be allowed to use them. They're probably not worth buying then if you can't actually use them where you play. But if you play 40k or a miniature agnostic game, and you just like the models, and you think the sculpts are better than what you can get from the Games Workshop, then I'd say absolutely go for it. Like, I'm planning to order some of the Xenonids to do some, like, alien miniature stuff. Or for the game I just made, Contact Xenos, they would work really well there as, like, the Razors. Or if you're just indifferent between the two, like you don't think one particularly looks better than the other, it is a good way to save a little bit of money on some of those characters. Because some of the GW character prices are pretty insane. And there are some of the, I want to say $35, $40 models that you can get closer to 15 for major minis. So that might be worth checking out too. So obviously there's a ton of places that third-party models. Etsy's full of them, and I know there's other print shops too. This is just one of the ones I have experience with, and Majorkill is a major content creator. Like I said, videos that are millions of views. And I'm fully aware a lot of people will just buy or not buy based on if they want to support Majorkill and like his content, or don't like his content and don't want to support him. That's totally fine too. Like I said, his style of comedy is pretty polarizing. I personally like it, but I totally did if you don't. Everybody's sense of humor is a little bit different. Just wanted to share what my experience was with it. Thank you for watching.